guys, restock Clash 9 TKs, get them while they last. It's a small little restock. Of course, got some really good colors: Spectre, Nagoya Trout, Magic Trout. Today's video, we're going to be talking about probably my brand new favorite Finesse cranking hook. Let's go ahead and hop into it. You know, these guys right here, these are the Fang 62 UAs, and these are tournament grade hooks at, I'm gonna say, a more premium price point. Now, for what you're getting here, these hooks are very, very different from like your standard G Finesse hooks or even like the Fusion 19s from Berkeley. These are true finesse hooks, but built to hold your fish, lock them on, as well as not bend out on you. So we're gonna be going over a couple different baits I have on the table here. Of course, a lot of these are mega bass. When it comes to using smaller hooks, you know, one of the biggest issues for a lot of anglers is that those fish are just super strong. They get close to the boat, they make a big run, and a lot of the time your hooks are gonna be bent out. So these hooks I've been doing a lot of testing with. I've thrown these on a wide variety of different baits. As you know, I really love the BKK Spear 71s. Those are really more of a short shank EWG with a very aggressive bend that, I mean, just straight lock those fish on. These are more similar to your regular O'Shaughnessy bend hooks, where it's very similar to a wide gap, but it still has a very aggressive bend in it. So again, the Fang 62s by BKK. These things are extremely strong and will lock your fish on. So I've got a couple examples here because I always want to give a size reference, because the sizing on these hooks is a little bit different than, like I said, your standard G Finesses or even like these Fusions here, which are still wonderful, wonderful hooks. So I've got a standard Vision 110. I think we can almost all appreciate the Katsuage hooks that come stock on these. In a way, a lot of people don't like them because they do bend out a lot. And one of the beauties of Megabass and a lot of the JDM companies is when they make their baits suspend and act a certain way. And when you change hooks out, even to something like this, the thinner G Finesse, or of course any other hooks out there on the market, it will really affect the way the baits work. Now, I love the Katsuage hooks myself. They are ultra thin, sticky sharp, but they do bend out on you from time to time, especially if you're using too heavy a line, too stiff a rod, you're horsing them too much. So there's a lot of variables in play that can ruin your fishing day. So the two sizes we have in these Fang 62s is going to be a size 12 and the size 10s. Both come in a quantity of 8, which I really like that they don't give you an odd quantity, so you don't have just an odd number of hooks out there. So you can do, like if it's a crankbait, you can do 4 crankbaits, or if it's like a jerkbait, you can do 2, and I guess you would have to buy another one, especially if it's a 3-hook jerkbait. But when it comes to that premium hook out there for changing hooks, this one will do it here. So for reference here, these hooks that are on the Megabass 110 standard are going to be those size 6 or size 8s, sorry. And what I have here is a size 10 BKK. It is going to be about just as tall as that Katsuage hook. Overall, the gap is just a little bit smaller, but when it comes to the weight difference between this hook and this hook, the Katsuage, they're very, very similar. So when you change these all out, you're gonna slightly weigh the bait down. I mean, just barely, barely, barely at all, if anything. And you've got a much stronger hook on there. So, you know, this hook is going to be kind of more of that 10 material. It's super, super slick as well, super, super sharp. I will say another major difference is it's not quite as tall, and it is just a little bit thicker than that Katsuage hook, but still ultra, ultra sharp. I'm gonna lock them on. So that one is going to be a great one to change on the Vision 110 here. And when it comes to something like a 110 Junior, where they actually use a little bit smaller hook, they don't have Katsuage hooks on here, but they have just normal round bends. This is a 110 Junior plus 1, which is the same as a 110 Junior. We have the size 12s in the BKK 62s here. The size 12 is going to be a great replacement size for this size here on the Juniors. Now, when it comes to other crankbaits or IXI shads or jackal risers or even the Shimano Zoomvernos here, this is a 95 size. I highly, highly recommend using the, where'd it go? The 12. It's so small it just disappeared on me. Highly recommend using the 12. If you are fine using a little bit bigger hook, the Z1, the Z2, they can take a 10 wherever it went. Oh, I heard it. I heard it. There it is. You can use a 10 when it comes to like the crankbaits. When it really comes to the jerkbaits, I highly recommend the size 12s. But I will say a lot of these are kind of in between sizes. Like the 10 and the 12, there is a major difference in terms of the overall length and overall gap. And it is in between. So like this is a Z1, same hooks come on a Z2 and a Z3. These are in between sizes. So if you want a little bit longer hook, I mean just barely longer, you can go to the 10. If you're fine fishing a little bit smaller hook, you can go to the 12 and it's just going to be slightly shorter. Now the gap's going to be very similar between the 12 and the stock hooks that come on this. Optionally, if you want to decrease the amount of weight on your jerkbait, like your 110, 110 Junior, 110 plus one, you can go to the size 12 stock on that. It's going to be much smaller than the Katsu Edge on a standard 110. But when it comes to something like a jackal riser, these things are notorious for letting your fish come off. This guy right here, this is the 007R riser. Definitely throw on a 12 on there. It's going to lock them on. When you have a bait like this where everything is in the front and they're able to really start throwing it, that causes a lot of issues. So definitely throw on a 12. If you want to throw on a 10 on the front of this riser, you can do that as well. Maybe get a little bit better hookup ratio. I've even got a BFS Griffin here. This is a Bait Finesse MR. This size 12 is going to be perfect replacement for those. So if you're a BFS fan that enjoys the MRX or the SRX in the BFS Megabass world, highly, highly recommend the Fang 62 size 12. Just for reference here, these are size 6 G Finesse short shanks. Let me pull these out here. This is a size 6, and this is that size 10 Fang. They are almost exactly the same size. The G Finesse does have a little bit wider of a gap, only because it's just slightly bigger. And I mean, I'm talking like micrometers bigger. This is a size 6, this is a size 10, and they are almost the same size. Just to give you a little bit more of a reference there, I do want to stress that. So do not take these Fangs and compare them to the exact same size in any other hook brand. So I've also got the size 8 here in the Berkeley. It is going to be just slightly smaller than this size 10, which is very odd, very backwards from how most hooks should work. When it comes to these Zoomverno, you can throw the 10s on there. If you are fine with a smaller hook, the size 12 is also going to work extremely well. When it comes to something like this is a Jackal Bling, and for as light as it is, it uses a lot bigger hooks than I would normally put on. I'm a big spear guy. The stock hooks that come on this aren't bad at all. They're round bends, super strong. I like to change these to the Spear 71 size 8s. And when those fish get it, they absolutely get it. Just for comparison, again here, this is the size 10. That is a size like 6, essentially. I like to throw an 8. But, you know, the size 10 is going to make a great replacement hook to lock them on. Trust me, when it comes to throwing smaller and smaller baits, or smaller and smaller hooks, you've just got to play it by how your fish are eating it. If they're slapping on it, throw on a little bit bigger hook. If they're really getting it, you're on that bite, you know they are eating it, don't be scared to throw a smaller hook. Hookup ratio shouldn't change that much, especially if they're choking it. When it comes to them throwing your bait and you landing those fish, definitely give the smaller hooks a try, because with bigger hooks, it allows that rotation to happen, especially with round bends, and those fish start coming off. It's the same principle with your normal jig heads, right? If you start throwing just normal round bend jig heads and you have bigger and bigger hooks, that fish gets leverage and pops that barb out of their mouth, and that fish comes off and you don't get to land that one. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video here. Again, a little insight into throwing some of these baits here. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time at Lake Pro Tackle. Check out these guys online, lakeprotackle.com.